This is today's issue of the Virginia Pilot. And as you can see on the front page, you got health bill signed, sealed, and delivered about Obama's big health care thing, which this is the front page. There's also an article. And this article is called Monster Given 50 Years for Abusing Boys in Church. Now let me read you the article. So it's really sick, and it really got to me. It says, this is written by what's the name of the fellow? Oh, I'm sorry, fella. A woman, excuse me, Jen McCaffrey. Let me read you the article, and it says, Shay Ryan Huffman's pedophilia tore Calvary Assembly of God Church apart. Huffman was a Sunday school assistant who was raised in the church. On Tuesday, he faced the wrath of the parents of the 5 boys he admitted he abused. From November 2008 through June 2009, Huffman took the hands of boys ages 4 to 5, led them into a church bathroom, sexually abused them, and took pictures as their parents worshipped nearby. His innocence was stolen by Shay Huffman in his own church, one mother testified of her son. Circuit Judge Edward W. Hanson Jr. said it was one of the worst cases he had seen, particularly because parents try to protect their children, and church is supposed to be a sanctuary. The children are scarred for life, and so are their families, and so is the church, Hanson said. He sentenced Huffman to 280 years with an active sentence of 50 years, 10 years above the maximum recommended by the sentencing guidelines. I can't undo what happened, but I can try and prevent it from happening again to other children, Hanson said. Huffman, 19, pleaded guilty in November to 3 counts of forcible sodomy, 5 counts of aggregated sexual battery, 1 count of attempted forcible sodomy, and 2 counts of filming explicit materials. The allegations came to light on June 18th when one of the boys told his parents that Huffman had sexually abused him at the church, which is on Providence Road in Kempsville, Virginia. He was arrested the next day. Parents testified with trembling voices and tears about their sense of betrayal that Huffman, whom several had watched grow up in the church, had so harmed their children. One father described how Huffman repeatedly sent him text messages in the months leading up to his arrest, asking to babysit his children outside of church. It took his son a long time to realize that he hadn't done anything wrong. A mother testified that her child has a sexual knowledge no 6-year-old should have. Huffman told her son not to tell anyone about what was happening, she testified. Another father testified that his son cringes whenever he tries to take a family picture. You had everyone fooled, the father said. No one would have ever thought that you are the monster that you are. A defense expert in sexual predators, Dr. Glenn Miller, testified that while he thought Huffman could respond to treatment, that if released, he would be 2 to 3 times more likely to reoffend than other sexual offenders. Huffman's grandmother, Jennifer, a former teacher who once directed the children's ministry at the church, testified that she and her husband got custody of him when he was about 3 after a daycare provider discovered bruises on his body. Jennifer Huffman said she didn't know how the abuse her grandson suffered in his early years had affected him. He wasn't our grandson, he was our son, and he was a good son, she testified. She added that the church had once been a close community and that the whole situation had been a terrible thing to go through. I just pray to God that every one of us will begin to heal today. Now, I read this, and I was thinking to myself, where was God when all this was happening, if there was, in fact, a God, well, a Christian God at least? What was he doing at the time when this 19-year-old predator was raping 5-year-old boys in a church, no less? I'm always told that God is like a loving parent. And I don't know what loving parent would let something like that go on, considering that this God had full knowledge of it going on. God knew, if you want to believe in that type of God, God knew that this was going on. God knew there was, five-year-old boys getting raped in Virginia Beach, Virginia. You do anything about it? No. Would you? I would. It's lunch.